Welcome back, folks. There's a new adage, really, that has come to be part of the common vernacular among some people in the last several years, and that is to prove a Democrat or liberal is trying to rule you, let them talk. To prove they don't care about what they're actually saying, let them talk. And there are great examples of this every day all over social media. Look at Bernie Sanders. The man is open that he is a socialist. He tries to water it down, but he is, and now is using what the Democrats have said for years about healthcare being a human right to demand basically socialist rule. He is very open that he doesn't care what United States immigration law is. He's going to use illegal immigrants to gain and then seize and then keep power.
So I think the time is long overdue for us to be clear that healthcare is a human right for all, including, by the way, the undocumented in this country.
When you look at Bernie's supporters, it's not very difficult for them to be proven insane or rabid in some cases. They will flat out tell you, and they use terms meant to make everyone else hate you. They insult and they name call. They never bring up any policy points. In some cases, they tell you, I don't care that you think about the economy differently than me. I don't care that you think about this differently than me. And then they go into their name calling and insulting.
Dear Republicans, we don't not support you because you have different political views than us. It's not because you have a different idea of how the economy should work. It's because you support an ideology that is sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic. I could go fucking on.
Of course, this is all hypocrisy because in the first breath, they will tell you that you are all these horrible things. But then they go on to demand you not point out that they do it themselves. Look back only a few years to not long before Matt Smith was about to leave Doctor Who, and we had public outcry, all but riots and open protest to demand that whoever replaced Matt Smith as the Doctor be female. And when people pointed out, okay, well, who is a female actor that could play the role? It doesn't matter. Just pick a woman. We've seen when this happens, and the hashtag is now very prevalent, at least where I see it, get woke, go broke. The creators and the casting people and the writers of Doctor Who very plainly said, no, we're going to find the best person to play the Doctor. If that person is male or female, we don't care. They found Peter Capaldi, and for his short term as the Doctor, he did very well. And then now we all know that Jodie Whittaker has taken over. But what they don't tell you is that they demand the gender swap happen only in one direction. And if you look at the show, there have been other characters. Very famously, there is one that went from male to female, and the actress that replaced that actor is killing it, or was in the last time I saw an episode, and it was not a problem because the actress they cast was an amazing actress for the role. And now with Jodie, apparently I've not watched the entire seasons that she's been on, but apparently she's doing well. So it is the proof that their mantra of we will find the right person, and that person will then be the Doctor is not what people want. It is simply obedience. And they don't even care that we see the hypocrisy.
For man flu, med team to sector 52, extraction chamber 7, regeneration in progress. Are you alright, sir? Sorry, ma'am.
Back to normal, am I? The only time I've been a man, that last body. Dear Lord, how do you cope with all that ego?
What you just saw is from a Doctor Who episode called Hellbent. Not going to give you a synopsis of it because, one, this clip's not going to tell you anything about it, and I don't like giving out spoilers. And a series like this has people joining it regularly, starting at the beginning and watching it. But this points out a bit of hypocrisy. We get people screaming daily that you're not allowed to misgender someone. With the introduction of Peter Capaldi, and even just a short time before that, when it was obvious that Matt Smith was very close to leaving the show, we had people demanding that a woman be hired to play the Doctor. Now, Stephen Moffat and others in charge of the show rejected that. They said, we don't go looking for a man or a woman for a role. They're very much of the ideology of Ripley from Alien. The character is written with their beliefs, with their actions, with their words. They're not written to be male or female. Ripley was written androgynous. And they found Sigourney Weaver, who slayed it in that role. It was only when Sigourney Weaver was hired that Ripley became a female. With Doctor Who, they basically said the same thing. You find me a person who can play the Doctor and do it well, and we'll let them play the Doctor. It's not the first time that they have had a character go from male to female, or in the case of the video you saw, female to male. But the video you saw had the person stand up and say, and I quote, back to normal, and then insult the male gender. And this is not a problem for any of them. They've had very prominent women on this show since the 60s. I mean, it was Sarah Jane who ultimately got her own show. Rose, Martha, Amy Pond. They even for a while had, and I don't know if this was only in comics or in print or on the show, because I wasn't alive, but I believe they had a time lady named Lady Romanova. This may have been a whole creation in just other literature, but it proves that you don't have to go looking for one gender over the other and exclude people for their gender. You look for talent, you look for ability, and ultimately that will lead you to the right person. But they hate that because they can't control you with that. Another great example is the brouhaha that erupted over the rumor that James Bond would now be a female. We ultimately know that this is not true. James Bond was still played by Daniel Craig, but the new character who would basically be taking over as the lead 00 agent is a female who flat out tells Bond she'll kill him. I have no problem with that. I don't have a problem with a strong female character. I don't have a problem at all. But when you force a change from James Bond to Jane Bond, it destroys part of the character. The character has been built, in Bond's case, for decades as James Bond. So have James retire and a new character come in. It's very simple. But they can't accept that. They can't accept that you're not going to vote for them, so they have to insult you and tell you that you're selfish. They can't accept that you're not supporting their candidate, so they have to call you every name in the book. They can't accept that you won't obey their sexist ideology, so they have to insult you and then put in the show an insult towards the gender they hate. It's unfathomable to me. I worked for a company almost 20 years ago that had a very unique hiring application and hiring process. The application was 100% online. This was in the early days, but it's still 100% online. Your first interview was an automated telephone interview. Your second was the first time you spoke to someone. And then the final was a group interview in person. Now, the application very clearly stated that they did not want you to, in any way, point out your gender. You did have your name and other information on it, which could, but I was part of this at one point. The name is never given. The work history is, the references are, and other information like that. But it is specifically given to the people reviewing it so that they don't know who you are in any way other than your work history. Now, when the resume is finally reviewed hard copy, because they do ask you to send one in, they specifically say, do not list your gender and do not include a photo. And I bring this up because we had someone apply, young woman of color who included a photo and put her gender on the resume. She was rejected. Before it even got to us, it was rejected because there were clear instructions that said don't do this, and she did it. She tried to sue for racism. The company pointed out the immense racial diversity in the workforce we had, and the very clear statement on the application process of don't do this, and that she did. She lost. There's other examples. The Four Seasons Hotel has a very clear policy: no tattoos. And I've heard of a young man who applied, and much like me, has a couple of tats. And you'll see mine are easily concealed with a short sleeve shirt. I made a promise to my mother that I could conceal mine with a Hanes undershirt. And I can. He did not tell them he had tattoos. He actually signed all the forms that said, you may not have tattoos, and got the job. And then later he was found out to have tattoos and fired. He sued and was in some way told the policy of no tattoos, which you agreed to and signed, is older than you. You broke it, you lied, you're fired. You lose the court case. This is an attitude. And it's an attitude that's been growing for the last 2 to 3 decades of, you can't tell me no. You have to obey me. And honestly, it's going to end up causing far more problems before it's solved. Anyway, folks, I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. But as always, keep it civil. We can disagree, we can debate, we can go back and forth without resorting to the tactics of name-calling and insulting like children do. As always, please like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications so that you're kept up to date on all new content as it's posted, because I don't do this full time. I post when I can, and I know the YouTube algorithm all too well, as I get stuck in the infamous YouTube loop late at night. But with a subscription and notifications, at least, you can kind of get around that. Until next time, have a wonderful day.